Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a major decision that Bitcoin has to make right now, because over just the next few days to the next week at most, I personally believe that we are going to see a major breakout on Bitcoin or a major crash. We have a decision in front of us. Is Bitcoin going to break bullish above the zone of resistance that we're about to talk about, or are we going to reject from here and drop all the way down to $100,000? I personally am very interested to see where Bitcoin moves next, and today we are going to be talking about the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, because right now we are building something called an inverse head and shoulders pattern that I am significantly hoping, seriously hoping, will lead us into a breakout. Now, a bit of context. Bitcoin over the last year has gone through a major rally, and I start with that fact because I think a lot of people forget that Bitcoin is up roughly 96% over the last year, even considering the most recent 14% corrective movement that we have seen when we dropped from $124,500 down to our local bottom of $107,000. This is very much a minor correction in the grand scheme of things when you consider the major march higher that Bitcoin has been engaging in over the last 3 years. That said, I do not think that this bull market is over. I don't think that this corrective movement that we've seen down to 107 is the beginning of a bear market, nor do I think a bear market is coming anytime soon. So at some point, Bitcoin will obviously have to resume the uptrend. The question only then becomes when. Well, it all starts with this green zone right here, which was acting as our support architecture back here in early August when we rallied all the way up to approximately $124,000. That support architecture, however, has become resistance over the most recent few days. We originally fell back down here on August the 22nd. Jackson Hole happened, and we had a lot of confidence that Bitcoin was going to go into a rally because we basically got a guarantee that a rate cut was coming. But we told you at the time that we need to be careful because this is almost certainly a dead cat bounce, which is exactly what happened. Bitcoin, following that announcement, that speech by Jerome Powell that seemed like he was going to be announcing a rate cut later on this month here on September the 17th, which we'll get to in a minute. We talked about how that would probably be a dead cat bounce and Bitcoin would fall over, and that's exactly what has happened. However, since that day, at the Jackson Hole speech, Bitcoin has managed to build a strong inverse head and shoulders pattern right here, an absolutely beautiful pattern that historically represents a very strong reversal. And the reason for that is simple. We went from having a series of lower lows to a series of higher lows. An inverse head and shoulders pattern is actually much more simply described as basically just an upside down triangle. Your support level turns from a descending support, your support line, your support trend line moves from being a descending trading line, trend line, to being an ascending trend line, right? And so when you have an inverse head and shoulders pattern that looks like this, that's exactly what you're doing. You are moving from a downtrending trend line of support to an uptrending trend line of support. And that is exactly what Bitcoin has built so far. We have managed to build for ourselves what amounts to a technical and a confirmed reversal. When you are looking at a trade, you are looking for something called an impulse line and an action line. An action line and a safety line and an impulse breakout thereof. We had this downtrend right here, which was the action line for the bullish trade. We would then look for Bitcoin to break above that line, come back down, back test that line of support, and then continue to march higher from here. So technically, as far as this is concerned, we do have I would say a weak, but a confirmed bullish signal here in this inverse head and shoulders pattern, along with the fact that we broke this downtrend, we fell back down to it, we back tested it, but now the issue is we are sitting right here beneath this strong zone of support between 112 and 113. And so that kind of tees us up for our question for today, which is whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to break through $113,000. It is that question that will be the nexus of all of our technical analysis in today's episode. Now, I want to go ahead and give you guys something really, really cool, and then we're going to keep it moving here. There are a lot of rewards over here on 2Bit that I want to let you know about. Right now, we have an exclusive campaign with 2Bit where you can earn up to $300 in USDT and also get some Ethereum airdrops. All you have to do is sign up with the link in the description box down below, starting just a few days ago and all the way through October the 3rd. You can get some amazing rewards when you sign up for 2Bit with the link in the description box down below. As you can see, you're going to get some welcome rewards when you register with our favorite cryptocurrency trading exchange. You'll get $50 of trial funds, and you'll also get VIP2 for 3 months, which helps you with fees. When you deposit more, you're going to get more benefits, and there's a lot lot of amazing airdrops going on over here right now that are just basically Ethereum. So whenever you deposit and do trading volume, you're just going to get airdrops in Ethereum. It's a lot of really great promotions that are going on right now. So if you sign up for 2bit, deposit some money, you're going to get some great benefits, as you could have seen on screen there. And also, when you sign up for 2bit and deposit $100, all you got to do is take a screenshot of your $100 deposit and your UID, so we know who you are. Send a screenshot of those two things to MalachiPats@CryptoJeb.com, who is our sales and community manager, and we will give you access to the first cohort Discord server for free for a year. This is a $419 a year value that you will get access to for free for a year. All you have to do is sign up for 2bit first. There's a bunch of people in here trading, doing technical analysis, making money, and I'm active over here all the time. So make sure that you sign up for 2bit, deposit $100, get access to some of these rewards, and without much further ado, let's dive right back into the content. Okay, cool. So the question that we have posited is whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to break through this zone. Let's go over the bullish and the bearish case. The first most obvious couple of data points come from the fact that we did break the downtrending level of resistance. We have successfully back tested it now. We did rally all the way up to 113,000. Which was a slightly higher high, and then we have fallen back down, set another higher high, and then we've come up here to an equivalent high. This shows us that we have a now very strong and confirmed uptrending level of support that has 1, 2, 3, 4 touches on it, and it does give me a lot of hope that this inverse head and shoulders pattern that Bitcoin has been building over the last couple of weeks will actually be able to break bullish. And if it does, our price target, as you can see right here, would be roughly $119,000. Now, that's a very interesting price target, because if you look at the last 2 months, that price target actually encapsulates a move above the point of control. The point of control on Bitcoin on the visible range volume profile currently sits at approximately $118,000. This is essentially the average point at which the most trading took place on Bitcoin in the visible chart. It is the, if you will, the demarcated line in the sand that determines whether you are in bullish territory or bearish territory, and while we are beneath it, the bears are firmly in power. If this inverse head and shoulders pattern hits its price target, not only would we be breaking above that point of control, but furthermore, we would also be breaking above the Fibonacci golden pocket, which sits here at 0.618 to 0.65 at roughly $117,000 to $118,200. Should this inverse head and shoulders pattern therefore lead us into a rally that first and foremost breaks $113,000, second and second most breaks us above the point of control, and third most puts us up here with the ability to test $120,000, then that leaves us with a very high likelihood that Bitcoin is done with the corrective movement and that we will go higher from here. And part of the reason that this may actually occur is because on the 17th, we are going to be seeing a Fed rate cut. That 17th is right here, right around the corner. As you can see by this vertical line, that's the day that it's going to be happening. And if we go to CMEgroup.com and look at the Fed Watch tool, you can see that in 8 days, once again, that will be on September the 17th, I believe is the day. I might be wrong on that. No, September the 17th. On September the 17th, we have basically a guaranteed rate cut, and there's a small possibility of a 50 basis point rate cut. Now, I've made other content on rate cuts, why they're so important, but I'm going to make this really simple. The Federal Reserve is the banking cartel that controls the United States banking system, as well as more or less the United States dollar. And so they are what is known as the lender of last resort. If a bank no longer has enough funds to cover all of the withdrawals, for example, in a run on the bank kind of situation, if they don't have enough funds that are liquid and not loaned out to cover all of the withdrawals, then they have to get money from somewhere to give the people the money that they're trying to withdraw out of the bank so that they don't become insolvent and so that there's not a banking crisis. This is part of the reason that the Fed was created. That makes sense on paper, does not make sense in practice, but makes sense on paper. They're the lender of last resort, which means they have the ability to lend money to these banks that otherwise might go through a banking crisis where they simply don't have enough funds to cover all of the withdrawals. Now, there's a lot of corruption here, and it is basically a lot of nonsense. They can basically create money completely out of thin air to solve the problem. They're not solving any problem. They're stealing your money. But the point is, they can lend money, and they do all the time, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. And the money that they lend has an interest rate. That interest rate is called the effective federal funds rate, and it is also known as the base rate. Every single other interest rate on any kind of debt in the United States follows the rate market, and the rate market is 100% based on the effective federal funds rate. And so with the effective federal funds rate right now sitting between 4.25% and 4.5%, We are looking for a rate cut to bring interest rates down and to stimulate the United States economy, because so that less of the money that is being generated through the gross domestic product of the United States economy will be going to interest, and more of it will be going to capital expenditure and growth. So this rate cut is very important for the prosperity of the United States economy based on the current economic zeitgeist. And so we are seeing at this point basically a guarantee of at least a 25 basis point rate cut. In other words, 0.25% rate cut, and a small percentage likelihood of a 50 basis point rate cut, or a 0.5% rate cut. If that does indeed occur, then that is almost certainly going to send Bitcoin parabolic. And the reason for that is quite simple. If we get a rate cut, Bitcoin will be seen as an avenue to invest in a more risk-on environment. When rates are high, people are typically risk-averse. They like to stay in the stock market. They like to stay in gold, because Bitcoin has not gotten to that coveted territory of being perceived by the masses as being risk-off. It's still perceived as being risk-on. That's not going to last forever, but that's the way it is now. And so you will see a rotation out of stock investment and out of gold investment into Bitcoin, which, by the way, works perfectly because, as we know from history, which we'll be talking about this in future content, every time that gold has ever gone through a major rally since the inception of Bitcoin, a major rally on Bitcoin has followed soon thereafter, which is part of the reason why I believe that this correction is coming to a penultimate conclusion at some point over the next 7 to 30 days. So that is the bullish argument. The bearish argument here would be, for some reason, Bitcoin does not manage to get above $113,000. We trade sideways right up until the rate cut, and then you have a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And for some reason, far too stupid for me to understand, people sell Bitcoin even when a rate cut happens. Now, this has happened before. Historically, when rate cuts occur, it can lead to corrections. So we don't know for an absolute fact that the rate cut being announced is going to lead to a rally, because it's possible that the announcement has already been priced in, and when it comes, well, now we don't have an announcement to look forward to. So it's kind of like when you go on this vacation that you're really looking forward to. You go on the vacation, you're on the vacation, towards the end of it, you're like, man, this sucks, I don't have anything to look forward to anymore. That's why the buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing can occur. And so we may see an event like that, where Bitcoin rejects off of 113, moves lower. And if so, then that would make all of this right here one bear flag. And instead of being an inverse head and shoulders pattern that points us to the upside, it would be a bear flag that would point us to the downside, and it would be pointing at roughly $100,000. So here is what I think is going to happen. I think that Bitcoin is going to take a stab at a rally higher over the next week. Part of that also comes from the fact that daily chart MACD is extremely bullish right now, more bullish than it has been in almost a year. The last time we saw a bullish MACD cross like what we're seeing right now, below the zero level on the daily chart, was down here at these bottoms. Not at this bottom, at these bottoms. The way the MACD is set up on daily chart is extremely predictive of a medium term, i.e. the next 7 to 30 day uptrend. Likewise, the RSI has broken firmly above the 14 moving average that was downtrending here, and we're now moving back up towards 50. Remember, the RSI is intended to tell us who is in charge, the bull or the bears, and with it moving up towards and hopefully soon through 50, that indicates to us that Bitcoin is becoming more strong by the day as it is attempting to put a bottom in here. So I am leaning very heavily in the bullish direction right now, that the rate cuts are going to be bullish for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is going to follow through on the inverse head and shoulders pattern, that we are going to try and rally up to 113, 114, 115. I do, however, believe that Bitcoin is going to have some headwinds, because there are a great number of people that still believe in the 4-year halving cycle, that think that Bitcoin is going into blow-off top phase and they're taking profits. And so that's going to provide some headwind. My prediction, therefore, for the next 7 days is that Bitcoin is going to make an attempt to break above $113,000 and slowly, probably not with a lot of power, but probably relatively slowly, move through 113 up to 114, up to 115, and try to inch higher through this strong resistance that we have right above our heads. If Bitcoin is able to get up to 118, 119, then at that point, the brakes might come off and Bitcoin can start going parabolic in this major uptrend kind of event. So in any event, I want to be prepared. If Bitcoin drops down to $100,000, I am prepared to buy a lot of Bitcoin down there, because I don't believe that Bitcoin is going to go below $100,000 anytime soon. Possibly ever again, but certainly not anytime soon. Most likely not anytime soon. I am much more so in the camp that Bitcoin is going to be going through a significant rally over the next 30 days, and a big part of that is going to be because of the technical setup on Bitcoin, the fundamental setup in the United States economy, the Precious metals setup from gold. The massive rally and all-time highs that are going on gold right now predict a major Bitcoin movement, like a doubling in Bitcoin in the next, several months. And I also expect that the bullishness that we're seeing out of the United States stock market right now is also going to push Bitcoin in a bullish direction. So I would love to hear your opinions in the comment section. Where do you believe Bitcoin is going? Why do you believe that Bitcoin is going there? And do you agree with our assessment? Do you agree with our technical analysis? Is there something that I have missed? I would love to hear your input in the comment section down below, whether it is positive or constructive, critical. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So let us know down below. Where do you think Bitcoin's going? Are you prepared in the event that we go down to $100,000? Are any of your Bitcoin collateralized loans, LTVs, low enough, right? Do you have cash to buy Bitcoin if we move down there? Are you preparing yourself for what is most likely going to be an extremely bullish Q4 on Bitcoin? If you have not bought Bitcoin, have I managed to convince you to do so? And where do you think Bitcoin is going by the end of 2025? Do you still believe in the 4-year halving cycle? And would you like to see some content out of me on whether or not the 4-year halving cycle is dead? Because I am very heavily starting to lean in that direction. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and thank you guys for being patient while we have been gone. Our baby daughter today is 11 days old. She's doing very well, and my wife is recovering well. I'm going to kind of take it slow for the next month or so as everybody gets back into the swing of things and just continue ramping up the content. And guys, I got a real good feeling because we got a lot of good things coming. Stay tuned because the end of this year and next year are going to be amazing. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.